Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's your boy SoSo, and welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for joining us as always. Make sure you're hitting that like, comment, and subscribe button, and most importantly, turn on your notifications so you guys get notified when we drop hits like this. Now today, Joel and I are celebrating episode 200, and of course, if we're doing something big, we gotta talk about the Dolphins. So this is the official Dolphins season preview. It's time to take a ride, y'all. Let's go! And we are back live, episode 200.
Congratulations
to both of us.
Yeah,
it's been a journey.
It's been quite a journey,
and it's been a great journey, dog. Realistically, bro, like, you know, we've seen a lot of growth, right? We've seen a lot of learning curves, right? But overall, we've seen a lot of love and support from you guys, the viewers, the people who check us out on Instagram, check us out on YouTube, you know, tune in every week to watch the episodes, love the interviews, all of our guests who join us. This 200th episode goes out to you guys because you are a part of this success, the biggest part, and Joel and I are happy that you guys have joined us every step of the way. And we can't wait to bring you, you know, even more cool, exciting shit, you know what I mean? Like, we just leveled up. Now we're on, you know, Disney promotions, right? We're covering shit like that.
Hey. PFL in the building.
Shout out to them.
Great time.
You know, we got BKFC, and we're so plugged in there. You know, we got the hurricane season coming up. We have our connect on that as well. Like, and even the gates have opened, right? The floodgates, I would say, when it comes to interviews, right? And the people that we've been able to get access to, both in the past, currently, right, with all the recent interviews that we've done, and even in the future, right? Like, things that we got lined up is pretty dope, dog. Like, to see where the show is heading, man. So congrats to both of us.
Congrats to you, brother. Congrats to both of us. I mean, it's been a long road for us, bro. You know what I mean? From when you first sent me, you know, the first idea to, you know, our first interview that we did, to our first 365, to our first BKFC. I mean, we've been doing this for a little while now, Dougie.
Yeah, bro.
So, congrats to us, bro.
Yeah, for sure, man. Shout out
to be doing this.
Like I said, bro, shout out to everybody who's been a part of it, you know? Steve, Vic, both Vics, Garcia, and Bermudez.
Look, if you're watching this right now on YouTube, do us a favor.
Yeah.
Drop a comment right now. Throw up the deuce for 200.
For 200, for sure.
Let us know.
This is a big episode, right? We've been teasing the Dolphins preview for a couple of weeks now, right? And it only figured that we had to line it up with the 200th episode because it is officially football season. The Dolphins just finished playing their last preseason football game of the year, right? They lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers up in Tampa. The score was 24-14. None of the major guys on our team played, right, which we kind of expected. But there were a lot of guys out there fighting for jobs, Joel. You know what I mean? A lot of jobs on the line out there, dog.
Yeah, you know, second, third team guys. You know, all those guys are battling. Even guys battling for, you know, a practice squad spot. You know, those guys get paid some. So didn't see our main guys. I understand why. I mean, you know, it makes sense. It's the last preseason game before the season starts. You don't want to sacrifice anybody. For sure. And plus, they're playing against other second and third rounds, you know, second, third string guys. So we weren't going to get much. But what were your thoughts on that game in Tampa, man?
I liked it. You know, I liked that there were a lot of guys out there showing the coaches, hey, I'm worthy of something, right? They didn't just lay down and give up a bunch of points. And something that has surprised me throughout this preseason, Joel, has been the improvement in tackling. You know, that's always been one of my main sticking points, right? You can't be a good defense or a great defense, top 5 defense, and miss tackles all the time, right?
100%.
And I feel like that was one of our weaknesses in the last 2-3 years here in the McDaniel era. But I feel like the defense has evolved, right? And I mentioned in the last episode where we're seeing the growth, and now the growth has spread all the way down to even the guys who are on the practice squad, right? Because we saw a lot of guys, maybe not necessarily do enough to make the team, but they did enough to catch the eye, right? And sometimes that's what makes you get on the practice squad, right? Which can give you a chance to continue to work, continue to learn, continue to grow, and eventually make the team given an opportunity. But since this is the Dolphins preview, man, we got to start all the way at the beginning, right? We wrapped up preseason football. That's done, thank God. No major injuries, right? No major injuries throughout those 3 games, which is major.
Sure.
You know, knock on wood. You know, we got to start about, for me, the 24 season started once we started making moves on the roster, right? And there were a lot of key departures. Before we get to the key additions, I want to start with the key departures, right? This season, we saw Christian Wilkins leave. He went to the Raiders. We saw Andrew Van Ginkel leave. He signed with the Minnesota Vikings. We had Xavier Howard get released, right?
Still hasn't signed anywhere, has he?
Nope. Still a free agent. Yeah, man.
Makes it interesting. I mean, the Dolphins, I know we have a lot of depth right now, but there's still a chance, right? He can return.
Yeah, but I think the thing that's killing him right now is coming off that injury.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that surgery. So we'll see what happens with X. And Jerome Baker, who was a big part of the Dolphins defense down here, he also left, signed with Seattle. Who's also facing injury concerns up there in Seattle right now for them. You know, if we look at those names, right, and there were more guys that left, right, but if we look at those key departures, the main one that sticks out is Wilkins, right?
Yeah.
And how his void going to be filled, right? Because I don't think there's a like-for-like replacement on this team. You know, if you think so, drop a comment. Let me know what you guys think that person is. But I think that there is enough, right, to make up for his talent in the numbers game, right? There's enough people here who can pick up the slack and kind of contribute as a team to that position because, you know, losing 100 tackle a year guy is not easy to replace, you know what I mean? Especially at that deep position, down lineman, whatever you want to call him. That was a big one, and I think that's going to be the biggest one that hurts us. What do you think it is?
I mean, as far as the guys that left, I probably would have to agree, man. I mean, the progress that he made when he was with us, you know, to lose a piece like that. At least it was amicable, though. You know, Dolphins we're set on a certain number, and we're like, we can't go over this because we're trying to build something here, which is somebody like even Tyreek Hill understands. You know, even though he got his bag, he's still not the highest paid receiver in the league when he's arguably the best receiver in the league.
Right.
But it's the bigger picture, you know what I mean? There's other guys here. There's a lot of egos that got to get fed. And so I think it worked out because, you know, we weren't willing to go that way, and Wilkins deserved the money that the Raiders gave him at the end of the day. So, you know, we're not going to be able to replace the guy, you know, as far as what he was able to bring, the energy, the excitement, you know, the locker room presence and all that stuff. But, you know, hopefully Chop Robinson can come in and fill a void. Hopefully Zach Sealer can continue to do what he's been able to do before we gave him the big contract. Hopefully Jalen Phillips and Nick and Brad Chubb and some of these guys that are kind of hurt, you know, can come back. Calais Campbell's a veteran guy. Not sure how many minutes he's going to be getting in games and stuff like that, but, you know, hopefully he can help stop some runs and stuff like that. So I think we got a lot of depth and a lot of pieces to try. You know, now it's who's going to step up, right?
Right. And one of those positions that we have a lot of depth at is, you know, the safety position. One of those departures was Brandon Jones, right? I didn't have him as a key player because although he made some plays, he wasn't an X factor type of player, right? And that's no disrespect to him because he's still a very good safety, right? Starting caliber safety, right? But I think that we replaced that position with something that is much better in bringing in Jordan Poyer. And that's why I have him at the top of the key additions, which you guys can see here on the screen. You know, he's the top key addition to me because he brings that veteran leadership, right? He's such a good player, right, with his knowledge and ability to read the play as it happens that he allows other guys to make the play, right, by removing a certain obstacle or being a certain obstacle, right? And the locker room, you know, the voice that he has in the locker room and the intent that he has right now in the aspect of his career as far as trying to win, right? And not having that success in Buffalo and saying, you know what, I could be a part of something here and help these guys out. I think he's been the biggest addition to this defense, to this team as far as free agency had been. The other guys that are of note, right, have been Jonnu Smith. We got him from Atlanta, big tight end coming through. Jordan Brooks, tight end, linebacker, from Tennessee, right, to kind of take over from Jerome Baker's spot. And controversial, Odell Beckham Jr. You know, a lot of questions about him right now, right, and his availability. What do you see being like what the expectations are going to be or should be for Odell Beckham Jr.?
I think that they're not too high, right now. I mean, granted, OBJ, he's a household name. He's been in the league for 10 years now, or however long he's been in the league.
Right.
Has a Super Bowl with the Rams, has that experience, can play at a high level. So, the fact that we brought him into this wide receiver room that has Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and you got guys like, Braxton Berrios and stuff like that, are going to be able to contribute. Knowing he's not going to be readily available to start the season, it's more of a, how do we get this guy acclimated in the first 4 to 6 weeks to this team, to this play calling, to this style, so that he learns how to pick his spots and where he can, tie in with Tua and really connect with him when he needs him to. You know what I mean? Be a safety blanket. I think that's where, we're going to see him. I think, he's not going to be doing a whole lot over the top. It's going to be a lot more across the middle. That's kind of where he plays now, where he ventures now. It's going to be short stuff where he can kind of open up the field and try to make a play. I don't know what you think.
I think that he still will be involved, as an over-the-top type player, right? Because he doesn't need to necessarily have that blazing speed, right? Because the threats below him are going to cause guys to come upfield, right? So he's not running 20 yards, and he has to do that at full speed. We're talking about 10 to 12, 15 yards, right? And I think he can still do that, right? And at least get some type of traction going to have a couple of deep balls. My concern is availability, right? And I think that he falls into a pool, right, of players that we're going to be relying on this year. Then I'm like, all right, what's the availability factor on this guy? And are we counting on this guy more on the second half of the season or the first half of the season? Because truth be told, I feel like the Dolphins have to be a second half team of the type of the season. You get what I'm saying? Like, we have to be playing our best ball in the second half of the season, because we've already done it multiple times in the front half of the season.
Right? Come out of the gates hot and then just kind of dwindle after that. We got to have, not the opposite, because we don't want to start off the season 0-5.
Right.
And then try to, make a run in the end. But I want more balance. And then, make sure you finish, at the end of the season. Make sure you can compete to get into the playoffs and win a playoff game.
For sure. And I think that goes with saying, they have to be better at closing out games.
Yeah.
Right? They have to be better at closing out games. And that in itself will make a big difference, because now you're not playing tit-for-tat football where you have to score because you can't get a stop. As opposed to saying, hey, we're up 10, let's run the ball for the next quarter and a half, right? And get out of here with a 10-point victory. Control the game, control the clock. That's the evolution that we should be seeing of this team, right? And if we look at the running backs that are going to be available this year for the Dolphins, there's a ton of talent in there.
Yeah.
Bunch of guys, especially one that's played a lot this preseason and played well. That's Jaden Wright, who's a bruiser type back, a guy you can give the ball to in the fourth quarter and say, yo, go out there and continue to push the pile forward, right? That should be the focus of this offense, running, closing out games by using the running game. That's what I'm looking forward to. And I think that a lot of these guys, that fall into that second half pool, right, of players that we need to have healthy, are very important. Odell Beckham Jr. is on there. Tyreek Hill is on there, right? Waddle's on there. Armstead is on there, right? He's a big one that we got to keep healthy. Holland is another guy that needs to be healthy in the second half of the season.
Holland's historically been pretty good about his health.
Poyer's another one. Both of those guys, right? If you're talking about limited snaps, I'd rather Calais, Jordan, and all these other guys play as many snaps as possible right now. That includes Tyreek Hill, right? The only problem with Tyreek Hill is that there's not a lot of depth behind him, which is a great segue, right? Because two of the guys that we have to talk about, as far as making the team and their availability, is Malik Washington, who's been tearing it up during preseason, and also Eric Ezukama. He's a former draft pick. Second, I think it was a third rounder, right? Or second rounder?
I think it was second.
Yeah, a guy that we had.
You've been impressed with him this preseason?
I think that he has shown capabilities to be the third, fourth wide receiver, right? Big guy, big target, has good speed, really good speed for a guy of his size. If you're talking about having, another target For Tua, Eric was going to be the one in line. And now he's been here his third year. He can make that jump of understanding the offense, what he has to do, where Mike McDaniel needs him to be for Tua to get him the ball, right? But the injury kind of hurt him. Same thing with River Craycraft.
Yeah.
Right? River Craycraft was a guy who was like, oh shit, maybe he might lock down that third spot until Dell's ready in week 6, 7, 8, right? But now we don't know how long it's going to take Craycraft to come back. And he's important, dog, because he's shown an ability in many of times to be a playmaker, right? And he has very reliable hands, dog. I don't know how you feel about the wide receiver group.
I think it's good, man. I mean, Izikama is probably my least favorite, to be honest. That's why I was curious about, your thoughts on that, because, I've seen more out of Washington and Sanders, in the preseason than I've seen out of Izikama. And, I mean, those are 5 and 6 guys, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that makes me feel good. If those guys are looking, decent with guys like Mike White and Skylar Thompson, who we'll get to in a second, it just lets me know, all right, we got speed, we got depth. It's just a matter of, like you were saying, I think we got to make sure that instead of just having these guys play all 60 minutes, we got to make sure, like, all right, let's pick our spots. We're up right now. We don't need Tyreek. Let's save them. Get these guys in the mix. Get some of the younger guys. Same thing with the safety. Same thing with the corners. Maybe Ramsey, you know what I mean? He's not playing every snap. Once we're up, maybe we start looking at, all right, how do we get these guys now in where it's less of a risk? And then, granted, they let something big go or whatever, we're back in. We got our big guys in there healthy, ready to go on reserve,
Right.
Again. So, I don't know if they'll manage the season that way or not. These guys want to get as many
But they
reps as
should,
they can.
though.
The ego is also part of that, too, for these guys. They want to be out there. They want to be playing in their position. But I think that's what hurts us, because then somebody so pivotal like that goes down late in the season.
Yeah.
And the guy that's supposed to back him up hasn't had any play time, and he's coming out there cold.
Yeah.
So if we can get a good mixture of these second and third team guys consistently playing week in and week out, then, I think we'll be, looking good for the end of the season. But we're still talking about the beginning of the season, so let me not get too far ahead.
But you know what? I think that, there's something that points to Mike McDaniel realizing the importance of that, right? Because he's made multiple comments, in some of these pressers before and after the preseason games where he's like, you know what? We got to make sure that the guys that are playing right now on the field are aware of what they're being held to, as far as a standard, what their play is, where their routes are, what their assignment is, who they got to block, who they got to all of that stuff is just as important because injuries are going to happen. Guaranteed. You're going to lose somebody. You're going to lose somebody important. Hell, maybe 3 people who are
It's
important.
happened to us
It's
last
happened-
year.
It happens
Two
every
people in
year.
the same game.
Yep. And I think that load management is what McDaniel has to kind of change up, right? Now, I don't want to say evolve, but I'm going to say change up, right? Because you still want to get the guys out there, right? But you have to be managing the amount of reps that you're giving them in a game and making sure that you include those younger guys who are the second and third on the depth chart to get actual playing time, right? And have them on the field, even if they get burned, even if they do well, even if they just do mediocre or normal, have those guys go get the game reps because at some point you're going to need them in a critical position, even if it's for one play. And you want those guys to be as ready as possible. And especially for wide receivers, in my opinion, right? Because for wide receivers, if you're thinking about that, Tua needs to have this type of cadence with his wide receivers. Right? You can't just have somebody come in on an important third and something because so-and-so got hurt. Now you have to bring in that guy to replace him, and he doesn't really know the route. Nah.
Or the timing of the route.
Or the timing of the route, right? Or Tua's never thrown him that route, right? Like, those are things that I feel like we have to avoid during the season. It's one thing to have it repped out in practice or in preseason football. It's another thing to do it in real game time when it counts.
Absolutely. And one thing I wanted to ask you, because we got into this pretty good last week's episode, and there was a definitive decision that was made after the last preseason game, but it's the conversation around our QB room. And as it stands today, we have Tua and we got Skylar Thompson. Mike White was cut after the preseason game in Tampa Bay. I was thinking that I liked what I saw more out of Mike White. Maybe it was more game 2 bias in the preseason, not the totality of it. I know Skylar had some better action in the third preseason game, but do you think the Dolphins made the right decision keeping Skyler?
Absolutely, they made the right decision. And here's why I'd say that. Because there was a big difference in the talent level, let's say, that either quarterback was playing with. Skyler was playing with third, fourth, fifth stringer, guys who are getting cut by the day, right? Mike White had an opportunity to play with the second team, part of the first team. He should have done a lot better than what he did. A lot better than what he did. So if you're looking at the numbers and you're looking at how they played and everything, and it's close, but the drop-off in talent that each quarterback was playing with is significant, right? Then you have no choice but to say, I'm sorry, Mike White, you didn't do it, right, with the guys that we gave you. We have to give an opportunity to the guy who did just as good as you with less, right? And truth be told, Skyler has proven that he's more, right, definitely better than a seventh-round quarterback, right? Because he's been able to hold on to a job. He's been able to climb up the depth chart. He's been able to get in-game action and not look completely lost at times, right? He obviously he had learning curves, let's say, but he's still a guy that is going out there and learning how to be an NFL quarterback, right? And doing those things to perfection. Mike White has had plenty of opportunities, not only here, outside of the Dolphins, right, in the NFL, to be a good caliber quarterback. I don't think he's taking the full advantage of it, or maybe he just doesn't have it, right? But Skyler definitely deserves the number 2 spot. Now the question is, who do you get to fill that third spot, right? There's been a lot of speculation, talk about Tannehill, but you and I both don't think that he'll be able to become the third or second with so many other opportunities that could possibly open, right, within the first 2-3 weeks of football.
I mean, there's a good chance that we bring Mike White back, in all honesty, you know what I mean, just for that third spot. But yeah, you know, I think the Dolphins, you know, have a lot more invested in Skylar Thompson, being that we drafted the guy and he didn't play for the Jets before coming to us.
Right.
I think that's kind of what it boiled down to at the end of the day. He's younger and he still has you know, more untapped potential. Let's just put it that way.
For sure. Another thing that I wanted to touch on this Dolphins season preview is the salary cap, bro. Right now, Dolphins are $268.7 million total cap. This year is going to be, 23.9 of cap space left, which is not a lot. They got $37 million in dead money. Most of that is Brandon Jones, Xavier Howard, right? But there are a lot of players that are making a lot of money. We saw these guys continue to push money into the cap, right? And play with it and get more cap space recently by extending Tyreek Hill. You extend Tua, you know, you give Jalen Waddle his extension. So the Dolphins have been able to make some good moves with their money-making decisions, but I feel like when you're that high in a cap, certain expectations come with it, right? And we've talked about, like, what's the baseline expectations for this team, right? Before, it was like, all right, win games. Then it was like, all right, be a contender. Oh, shit, make the playoffs. And now we've already accomplished all those levels. Before I give my answer, I want to know, what's your base objective here for this Dolphins season?
Win a playoff game. It's that simple.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to win the division outright and dominate and say, yeah, we beat all of our division rivals and won the division handily. But even if we do that and make it to the playoffs and don't win, it's all a bust to me. Yeah. So I don't care if we win the division. It would be nice. That would be something that the Dolphins should aspire to as well. But sitting in this chair right here today, it's a playoff win.
Yeah, I feel you. And I'm sure, like, a lot of fans feel you too, right? But for me, I think the most important thing this year for this Dolphins football team is winning the division. Because based off what we did last year, we definitely had enough to win the division. It was ours. We fumbled it. We completely fumbled it. This year, we have a chance yet again, right? Because, you know, for as good as Josh Allen is, the team has gotten weaker, right? The team has gotten weaker. And our team has gotten a little bit stronger. I'm not saying we're as strong as Buffalo, but if you get that, right, the gap is a lot closer now. I think that we should be winning the division this year because it guarantees the most important thing for this Dolphins team, a home playoff game, right? And I think that to get to that level of winning the playoff game, we have to start at playing that playoff game at home. And I think the best chance for us to do that is to win the division. We're talking about a very weak Patriots team, right? A Jets team with a good defense, ton of offensive talent, but a ton of questions on the durability of their quarterback, right? And we saw how bad that Jets team can be without Aaron Rodgers. We also have a lot of questions about Buffalo. They lose their star wide receiver, Diggs. Kincaid is out. They have a lot of injuries on defense. They have some recent injuries on offense. How long can, Allen continue to piece that team together throughout a season, right, in order to win games consistently to own the division, right? So I think that the biggest thing for the Dolphins to accomplish this season is definitely for them to win the division.
That's a fair point.
You know what I mean?
Starts at home. We do well at home. For me, any which way you spin it, it's just get a playoff win. Whether it's at home, on the road, I don't care how we do it, man.
Yeah.
We got to get it done. With this team, with this much money invested, we got to get it done. This is the year.
And even for Mike McDaniel's sake, right? Like, I feel like, for McDaniel to feel like he is going to be validated, right? Let's say in some of the other coaches' eyes, right? He's going to have to win a playoff game. Yeah. He's going to have to win a division, right? And say, I'm this good of a coach, right? I don't care if it's the AFC North, NFC South, like Detroit won their division. They want to, they made a play. Like, those are things that we need to do now, right? And I feel like the chips are all stacked up in McDaniel, or as far as like being in front of him, and he needs to go all in and say, this is the year that I cement myself as a real legit coach, top 5, top 3 coach in the NFL by winning the division and winning the playoff game, and doing that in the same year. Obviously, it would be major, historic, right, news here for the Miami Dolphins. But I think the impact would be felt NFL-wise, right? Because now, again, people will be like, oh, shit, the Dolphins are really back, right? We've always been back to certain degrees. We've had the big-name coach, the big-name, free agent acquisition, this, that, and the third. But we've never put everything together. This is the closest we've been to putting it together. I think McDaniel has to be the one to take that extra step.
And what it would be if the Dolphins won the AFC East, won their first playoff game, rode the wave, and won their first Super Bowl in 52 years.
I mean, the Super Bowl thing might be crazy,
but that's the hypothetical.
That's the super.
Like, imagine we get to that point. Like, oh shit, the Dolphins won the division.
Yeah.
All right, don't fuck it up. Typical Dolphins fashion. Oh shit! How elated are we? We won a playoff game
at home.
We could die now. We're happy. We're good. We got to see a Dolphins playoff victory in our lifetime. And then if they were to go on some magical run and win the Super Bowl, bro,
it would be great.
This town would lose their shit.
First of all, it would be fucking crazy, right? Because you would have a Stanley Cup championship, and then right after that,
a Super Bowl.
A Super Bowl. Crazy. For a team winning it for the first time, and then another team not winning it since God knows how long,
52 years.
Yeah. That would be insane. And it's insane because it's really hard to win a Super Bowl, right? But if you're looking at how good this team is on paper, right? How good this team has been over the past couple of years, it's not that crazy to see that in some form or fashion happening, right? It could potentially happen. There's just obviously a small percentage of us getting all the way to there, but it could happen, right? Because this team is that talented. And we've seen this team grow every year. Every season has been growth. This is a season that it could potentially all come together, right? And I think that winning a division, right? Winning a division and winning a whole playoff game certainly gives you that belief. I recently saw an interview that Javon Holland was on the Pivot. Shout out to Javon Holland and all those guys on the Pivot. But, he said that a lot of the guys in the locker room are talking Super Bowl. And we're talking about it every day. Because if you're not talking about the Super Bowl, then what's the point, right? We're not going out there just to be a quote-unquote good team, talked about team. So that led me to believe that they do have those Super Bowl aspirations and they truly believe in it. And if you're looking at, the best wide receiver group in the NFL last year, best running back group in the NFL last year, best quarterback statistically last year, like top 5, top 10 defense last year. Those are all things that you say, what does a Super Bowl winning team need, right? You need X, Y, Z, you know. The Dolphins kind of had all of those things covered. Maybe not A plus in every single category, right? But shit, an A minus, B plus in every single category at worst is not bad, right? And it lets you know that things are doable. So I say all of that to say the Super Bowl I think might be doable, but in order to really see that light like become bigger than just a little dim right now, we got to win the division, right? We win the division and it's like, oh shit. All right, here we go, dog. We're definitely winning a playoff game, right? Because we're playing at home, and we're gonna go on tremendo run and use this momentum to springboard forward.
Would be the dream.
It is the dream for sure, but it all starts with the division.
Good thing I already got my money on the Dolphins and winning the Super Bowl this year, baby. Hey, speaking into existence like Javon and gang. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean?
Sir.
I bleed this. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir, man.
Delusional, baby.
We do bleed it, bro. We do bleed it, and that's why we got OnlyFans, right? And I'm so excited. What we got cooking for you guys on OnlyFans, bro. We're making a lot of changes to the show. It's gonna look better. It's gonna sound better. It's gonna be available to you guys a lot quicker. We're upping the production on it, so OnlyFans is gonna be dope. We're gonna have a lot of guests this year for you guys as well throughout the week, kind of like previewing each game, right? Where Joel and I are gonna jump on a Zoom link with one of the other teams' perspectives, right? And just kind of see what they feel about the Dolphins and their teams week by week, so you guys get something fresh every week. You may not get an episode every single week, right? But what we're trying to do here is bring you a more well-rounded form of content, right? Where we're bringing you guys interviews, we're bringing you guys sporting events, we're bringing you guys episodes of the podcast as well. But we're trying to make it a more well-rounded show. And it starts with this season, right? With the Dolphins, it starts with OnlyFans, and it starts with you. Because you guys are the ones hitting that like, comment, and subscribe button. You guys are the ones telling a friend to tell a friend. And hopefully you guys are turning on the notifications every time we drop a new video, man. Because like I said, we put a lot of hard work in it, and it's all for you guys because you guys are joining us on that journey. Let's wrap up the show with my favorite type of shit. Prediction time.
Okay.
Prediction time. Dolphins season record. Go.
What did we do last year? What was our final record? Do you remember?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Let me see right now. Because I'll tell you right now, I think the Dolphins go 5-0 to start the season again. I'm going to tell you that right now. Now, I hope they don't go 5-5 after that.
Nah.
But I'll tell you right now, let me see. The Dolphins 2023 record. They went 11-6.
Okay.
I'm gonna say 12-5.
You know what? I'm gonna also say 12-5. You know, because I feel like, let's say we split with the Bills, right? We sweep the Jets, sweep the Patriots.
I think we're sweeping the division this year, bud.
My man, right there.
I think that's what it takes.
It's possible.
I think that's what it takes to win it.
Yeah, for sure. That's the way to do it, right? If you're talking about no questions asked type shit, that's the way to do it. And it's possible, right? We can get 2 on the Jets for sure. We know we're getting 2 on the Patriots for sure. We need to get 2 on Buffalo. But yeah, 12-5 is where it's at for me too, because I feel like that's how good we could have been last year. So I can see that mirroring itself into this year.
That's what should have been our record last year.
For sure.
Think about it.
100%. Probably even a little bit better if we're being honest.
But at least that one game, bro.
2 games. And then we're going to not even talk
Don't
about
talk
the 2
about
games.
it. Those are in the past.
But 2 games.
In the past.
2 games are in the past, but whatever. Who leads the team in touchdowns?
Just overall touchdowns?
Let's do by group.
Receiving?
Wide receiving.
Receiving is going to be Tyreek.
Okay.
I mean, Tyreek's going to be...
I got my money on Waddle this year. I don't know why.
To have the most touchdowns. It would be nice. It would be a pleasant surprise, I'll tell you that, if Waddle was the one that led
Less
the group.
yards for sure.
Well, because then it would mean like Tyreek, isn't having to do as much, and like the way that Waddle scores, it's like big plays.
Right.
So that means like, okay, if he's the leader, then that means he's getting a lot of big plays, which is good for us. But receiving, I'm gonna say Tyreek. Rushing, I know Raheem is the dream and he still is mean, but I think Achan's going to take the rushing this year on the rushing touchdowns.
Crazy. I mean, it's not crazy, right? Because statistically, he was leading the NFL in rushing, both rushing yards and touchdowns for like the 4-6 weeks he was playing before he got hurt. So he's definitely that talented, and he's definitely coming back this season with a fucking vengeance. But honestly, if we're talking about just touchdowns, I think it might be Jalen Bryant. because I can see Jalen Wright being the running back that we use inside of 6-8 yards, right? Inside 10 yards.
Third down back.
Goal line package, dog. Put fucking, what's his name? The fullback.
Alec Ingold.
Ingold.
Your boy, dog.
My boy, dog. We put Ingold there, set up in an I formation hybrid, and put fucking Jalen Wright there at the back and just old school Ricky Williams style, you know what I'm saying? And he'll eat up touchdowns like that. So
the thing is, we got speed, bro, so we got options. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who do you think is going to lead our team in sacks?
Honestly, it's going to be Jalen Phillips. I feel like this kid is just not normal, dog. He's like Captain America. You know what I'm saying? They injected him with the super serum, and this dude like just jumps off an injury like this. They'll be careful with him, right, in the first 2-3, weeks of the season. But I feel like he's out to prove to everybody, not necessarily because anybody doubted him, but just that Michael Jordan mentality where he's like, oh, all these people think that I can't do it. Watch this. And he comes out here and has a crazy 13, 14 sack season, 15 sack season.
I would say Brad Chubb, but he's on the PUP to start the season, along with a couple other guys. I know Isaiah
we'll wrap
Wynn
up the show with those guys.
And, we'll just do it right now. Isaiah Wynn and Cameron Good. Those guys are all on the PUP list.
Yeah.
So, I would say Chubb, but I like the Phillips pick. If I had a dark horse, I'm going to say Chop Robinson, dog. I don't know why, but as a rookie, you trying to make a name for yourself
Just go out there. Yeah.
Oh, you got Jalen Ramsey out there.
Yeah.
You got Javon Holland out there. You got Jordan Poyer out there. You got Chubb. You got Phillips. Like, you got to make a name for yourself, dog.
For sure.
And what better way to do it than getting some sacks?
Yeah. That's a great pick, bro, because honestly, he's going to have one job. Use your speed, use your athleticism, and get to the quarterback.
That's it.
Don't worry about stopping the run. We don't want you to do nothing else, but just go after that quarterback every single time you're in there.
And he has the luxury of the fact that he's new and guys aren't game planning for him. They're game planning for Phillips. They're game planning for Chubb when he gets back. They're game planning for Sealer. They're not necessarily game planning for Chop to start the season.
For sure.
So
that's a great pick.
I got high expectations for that kid. I think a lot of us do.
Over under 600 receiving yards for Jonnu Smith.
Oof, I'm gonna hit the under on that.
Under 600, huh?
I think it'll be under, but I think they're gonna be meaningful yards. I think they're gonna be serviceable yards.
I like that. I like that.
You know who you are.
What about touchdowns? 5 for him.
Over under 5 touchdowns. I'd like to go over. I like that to be something that like we can explore in the red zone. You know what I mean? Like inside the red zone where he's an option, because they're going to be looking for the guys on the outsides. And if we can hit this guy in the seam, running upfield or something wide open, one-on-one, he's a big dude, bro.
I just think that he's such a threat in the red zone, right? Big target, reliable hands, and it coincides with the evolution of Mike McDaniel integrating the tight end position into this offense, right? So we could see him being a big threat in the red zone, which I think is going to take away from your Hills, your Mosterts, your A-Chans, right? Because those extra touchdowns that they were getting are now going to be spread out to a couple, 2-3 guys.
A lot of mouths to feed.
Yeah. Last question. Jason Sanders, does he finish the season as a Dolphin? He had a shaky preseason, kind of finished the season kind of up and down a little bit. Does he finish the season as a Dolphin?
Yeah, I think so. I think he does. I think he finishes the season as a Dolphin, and depending how his season goes, will be what his fate will be next season.
Yeah, for sure. Because like I said, this was a guy who, when he got here, was excellent, right? Excellent, extremely reliable, hitting all types of shit. Lately, in the last 2 seasons, he's kind of
shaky.
Shaky. Missed
some key moments,
big field goals for us. That kind of cost us a game or two, right? But I think that he can't be the one that falters on this offense, right? Because you're only gonna be called on key moments. So if you're called on a key moment, you have to come through. And if you can't come through, tough. I can live with Tyreek Hill dropping a touchdown to win a game. I can't live with you missing a 38, 42-yard field goal to miss a game.
Shit, I can't live with Tyreek dropping a touchdown.
I'm just saying, I'll forgive him quicker than I'll forgive.
Wide open and he drops that bit.
I hear you.
My God.
I hear you. But you will forgive him first before you forgive Jason Sanders. Jason Sanders misses a chip shot for a game.
That's a different story.
38.
But if it's a 50-yarder,
42-yard field goal,
we couldn't advance the ball. I'm gonna cut him a little slack.
Hold on.
It's
if it's a
situational.
42-yard
It's
field goal,
context.
42-yard field goal, dog, I don't care. That's automatic for you. You're in the NFL.
If the wind is blowing in Buffalo in the middle of December,
I don't give a fuck. Make the field goal. That's your job.
Dog. You gotta have the context to it.
That's your job, dog. That's your job.
I mean, I just think it's a little hypocritical for you to say you would forgive Tyreek Hill.
A lot more, dog.
I wouldn't use that analogy.
Yeah, absolutely, dog. He's a 10 times better player. Gonna get 10 times better opportunities to make up for that. He's a one and done guy.
Nah. No, that's inexcusable in my book.
I'm just saying.
If they're both just that scenario.
They're both
inexcusable.
And hopefully we don't find ourselves in those scenarios this year. Right? As a Dolphins fan.
Can't wait, baby. Week 1 is right around the corner.
Right around the corner.
We got Labor Day weekend this weekend, and then Thursday night, first game of the season.
It's on and popping, bro. It's going to be on and popping. And like I said, we got a lot of stuff lined up for you guys on OnlyFans. First preview is coming up with the Jacksonville Jaguars. We got some guys from the Jacksonville area. They're going to be joining us on the OnlyFans show. Make sure you guys are tuning in for that. But the only way you guys get notified is by telling a friend.
To tell a friend.
To tell another friend.
To tell everybody they know.
To tell everybody they know to turn on their notifications, because that's the only way you guys are going to know when we drop these hits, man. And then you guys can go to the show, hit that like button, drop a comment, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. That way we can continue to show you guys some love as you guys show us love. Thank you so much for joining us. 200 episodes. We're going to keep pushing forward and go and see how far we can go on this Sports With SoSo journey. Till next time. Peace.